Hello, welcome to WWRD. What would the regulator do? For this episode, the question is not one specifically raised with us, but it's one that I hear again and again. Is the SMIC dead? So I'm delighted to have Adrian Whelan from BBH here to join me to discuss is the SMIC dead. But let me set some context for this, Adrian, before I bring you in. So SMIC, self-managed investment company, but also would apply to internally managed AIFs, so both UCITS and AIFs. And really we're also talking about those older management companies that don't necessarily have their own dedicated full-time staff. So is that kind of a model dead? Now the reason we've taken that as a WWRD video is because, as I said, it's something that comes up again and again in the context of the current ongoing review by the central bank over fund management companies and CP86 and how well it's being implemented. Now, let me just give a little perspective on that from the regulator side, I think. What the regulator wants to see is funds and fund management companies doing a good job, being compliant and demonstrating compliance. They have always said that they're model neutral and they've not shifted that position. So they don't especially want firms to either use their own Manco or third-party Manco or to be self-managed. Which of those models a firm chooses is really up to them as long as they're compliant and demonstrating compliance. So with that in mind then, Adrian, your views on is the SMIC dead?
So I will answer your question, but 2 points before I do. Congratulations on the most morbid question of 2019. And the other thing is, I live in a world of acronyms, right? And you've just added to the pile with your what is it?
WWRD. You haven't heard of it?
WWRD. I know I had. It's just like I have a lot of acronyms to keep an eye on. So death of the SMIC. I have heard this or overheard this in industry, right? And there's a conventional wisdom, to your point, that the SMIC is no longer viable with all this additional scrutiny on time, resources. Personally, disagree. I think there's an equation on scale, nature, complexity.
Yeah.
I think SMICs can utilise DPs and outsourced resources. They can use the attached management or the investment management functions on a global basis. Delegation is, again, not dead. So there's resources Absolutely. You can use globally. Yeah. These are positives, okay? That said, the nature and the direction of travel in this year, which is a special Brexit year, right, has been more towards a gravitational pull towards third-party Mancos or setting up and establishing Mancos with substance, maybe with MiFID permissions in Ireland. But to answer the question bluntly, I think that the SMIC will continue to work if you can have appropriate expertise, resource, appointed DP. The more important question is, what's the commercially viable and model? Is it going to be too expensive to utilise a number of DPs for self-managed than try and scale up or utilise third-party management companies?
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think that if the SMIC model were to die, and I don't think that it will, but if it were, it's not going to be a regulatory prohibition. Correct. I think it's a commercial decision. There comes a tipping point where operating on the basis of secondees, let's say, where the time commitments get to a level that makes it more viable to either set up your own Manco or use a third-party Manco. And I think that that's going to be the pinch point in this. The review is ongoing. We don't know exactly where the outcome will be in terms of the line in the sand on time commitments. In fairness, it does come down to nature, scale and complexity. What is the SMIC doing? What kind of assets is it invested in? What kind of size is it? So that's going to play into it. So it's hard to say where that line will be for every firm. I think it's fair to expect more is going to be required for a lot of them, but it's whether that line is more means you're now in the balance of going to
I couldn't agree more. I think you use model neutral, and I kind of, to expand on that, does the investor or the investment platforms or the asset allocators, do they care if it's a SMIC or a management company with substance? They really do not. What they care about, are you a UCITS? Are you an AIF? Can we invest? On a commercial point, it becomes like a cost play more than any kind of commerciality. So that leads me to believe actually that there will be viable SMICs. There will be new SMIC launches if it makes sense. So again, to repeat and maybe to conclude, the SMIC is not dead.
SMIC is not dead, but will probably require more resources at the end of this process.
Agreed.
And let's see where that brings out in terms of the balance. Agreed. Thank you very much.